So things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's Alex Eala. That's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big.
Novak Djokovic has finally broken his silence on the Alex Eala controversy at the Australian Open, and he didn't hold back. Alex Eala, the rising Filipino tennis star and pride of the Philippines, suffered a first-round exit. But this story goes far beyond just her performance. According to Djokovic, and many who've been closely following the situation, the way the WTA handled her match played a major role in what happened. And Novak is calling it out, loud and clear. Eala entered the Australian Open with serious expectations. She's not just another player on tour, she's widely regarded as the greatest tennis talent to ever come out of the Philippines. That's not hype. That's reality. She's been breaking barriers, making history, and putting Filipino tennis firmly on the global map. So naturally, she deserves respect. She deserves fair treatment. And she deserves the same opportunities as every other top-level player. But what did she get? A smaller court. Despite her achievements and growing global recognition, Eala was assigned to play on a less prominent court, when she clearly had the profile and momentum to be featured on a bigger stage. And Novak Djokovic noticed. Not only did he notice, he spoke out. He made it absolutely clear that this was poor management from the WTA. In his view, Eala is the greatest player the Philippines has ever produced, and she deserves far more respect than what she's being given. But instead, she's being overlooked. And that lack of proper treatment may have played a role in her early exit. Now, some might say, it's just a court assignment. How much difference can it really make? The answer? A lot. The court size, the atmosphere, the crowd energy, the lighting, even subtle surface conditions, all of it affects performance. Especially in high-pressure environments like a Grand Slam. But what makes this situation even more concerning is that it doesn't seem like a one-off incident. It looks like part of a pattern. If you've been following Alex Eala's journey, you already know what that means. Let's go back to one shocking moment during the Australian Open qualifiers. Eala was in the middle of a crucial rally. She struck a shot that was clearly in, no doubt about it. The mark was visible. The trajectory was clean. Everyone in the stadium could see it. By every objective measure, it was her point. And then, the call came out.
Alex a little bit annoyed now. That's the second time that has happened with that same linesman.
Now, that situation was already bad enough. But what happened next made it even worse. Instead of making a clear decision, even if it was the wrong one, the officials chose to replay the point entirely. And if you know tennis, you know that's not normal. You don't just replay points because you're unsure. The ball is either in or out. Simple as that. A call is made, and the game moves on. But somehow, when it came to Alex Eala, the standard rules didn't seem to apply. And here's what stood out the most. She didn't just accept it. Alex Eala walked straight up to the chair umpire, calm, composed, but completely firm, and made it clear she understood exactly what was happening. "I know what you're doing." That moment said everything. The confidence in her voice. The focus in her eyes. She wasn't intimidated. She wasn't backing down. She refused to be pushed around. She stood her ground, right there, in the middle of the court. And despite all of that chaos, she still won. Through the questionable calls, the disruption, the pressure, she stayed locked in. She fought through it all and pushed her way to the finals of the Australian Open qualifiers. That's the level of mental strength we're talking about. That's resilience. But here's where things get even more concerning. Let's talk about her match against Iga Swiatek. Now, if you're not deep into tennis, here's what you need to understand. Iga Swiatek isn't just any player. She's one of the best in the world. A multiple Grand Slam champion. A former world #1. A dominant force on the court. So for a young player like Alex Eala to even compete at that level, that alone is impressive. But what happened next is where things really start to raise eyebrows. Eala wasn't just competing, she was thriving. She was going toe-to-toe with Iga Swiatek, matching her shot for shot, holding her ground against one of the most dominant players in the world. The momentum was shifting. You could feel it. Eala was building confidence, finding her rhythm, and starting to look like she might pull off one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. And then, out of nowhere, everything changed. A match official suddenly stopped the flow to question items in her backpack. Yes, in the middle of a crucial match. At the exact moment she was gaining momentum, an official chose to interrupt and make an issue out of something completely unrelated to the play. But it didn't stop there. Instead of handling it quietly, they made the announcement loud enough for the entire stadium, and millions watching worldwide, to hear. It's confirmed you cannot use it. Just like that, she was put on the spot. Publicly. It wasn't just an interruption, it felt like an attempt to paint her as a rule breaker, to embarrass her in front of the world. Think about the psychological impact of that. You're locked in, fully focused, competing at the highest level against one of the best players on the planet. And suddenly, you're being called out, publicly, over something trivial. That kind of moment can shake anyone. It disrupts your rhythm. It plants doubt. It pulls you out of the zone right when you need complete focus. And that's what makes this so troubling. Because it starts to look less like officiating, and more like psychological interference. And that has no place in professional sport. None. And this is exactly why Novak Djokovic speaking out matters so much. He's not just another voice in the crowd. He's one of the greatest players in tennis history, a 24-time Grand Slam champion who has spent nearly 2 decades at the very top of the game. He understands pressure. He understands momentum. And most importantly, he understands fairness. And that's exactly why, when someone like Novak Djokovic speaks, people pay attention. Because he knows the difference between fair treatment and clear mismanagement. He's lived it. He's experienced the highs, the pressure, and the politics of the sport at the very highest level. So when a player of his caliber calls something out, it carries weight. And in this case, what he's saying makes a lot of sense. Alex Eala deserves better. She deserves fairness. She deserves respect. And she deserves the same opportunities as every other player on the tour. The WTA needs to take a serious look at how situations like this are being handled. Court assignments shouldn't feel random. Officiating should be consistent. And young, talented players, especially those coming from smaller tennis nations like the Philippines, shouldn't have to battle bias and questionable decisions on top of competing against world-class opponents. Because at the end of the day, tennis should be decided by performance, not interference. So now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Novak Djokovic? Do you think the WTA has mishandled Alex Eala's situation? Have you noticed these patterns in her matches? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And most importantly, let's show some support for Alex Eala. She's already proven her resilience. She's shown her talent. And despite everything, she continues to rise. Now she's not just fighting alone. Voices like Novak Djokovic are standing with her. If you enjoyed this video and want more tennis content like this, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit that like button. Share this with other tennis fans. Let's raise awareness about what's really happening in the sport we love. Until next time, keep standing for fairness in tennis. See you in the next video.